Paano yung golden age yun?
Yun nga yung irony dun eh. Just look at the numbers, bro.
But the question there is, Nico, bro, who polices the police? Who polices the global
Who
police?
watches the watches? Who watches the watchman? Actually, ang ganda nun eh. Ang problema kasi, when you don't like what you hear, you don't watch it.
Ito sinearch ko na talaga. So 1986 and 38.67.
Yun! Tama ako, sabi ko sa'yo, 30 pesos eh.
Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat, sa atin po mga viewers ng U3. I'm pretty sure makikita nyo na ngayon sa ating screen ngayon ang katabi ko. At yan po ang ating magiging guest sa ating special po na collaboration. Ako personally very honored. Si Nico, David, kilala nyo yan? You already know.
Hello.
Victor Magtanggol, lahat-lahat yan. So, Nico, bati mo tayo sa mga viewers natin sa U3, Usap Usap University at sa mga fandom mo din.
Hello sa mga U3 natin and hello kay Sir JR. Sir JR, parehas kami sa academe. So parehas kaming teacher technically speaking.
Correct.
Pero are you still practicing, bro? Or hindi na masyado?
Okay, so nag-teach ako for around 3 years sa university. So talagang classroom setting pre-pandemic. And then after that, nag-proceed kasi ako sa law. So nag-aral din ako ng law. So that time, na-juggle ko pa siya, mga second half ng pagtuturo ko, nag-aral din ako ng abogasya at napakahirap pagsabayin. So it has to something has to give. Something has to give. So I stopped after almost 3 years. Focus ako sa law, but unfortunately I took the bar but I did not pass. So ilang puntos pero ganun talaga. Ganun talagang buwan. Maybe in the future. But so that's my background. Basically, I majored in political science. Kaya medyo Sir JR yung dinala ko na label sa channel ko. And it's been going on since 2018, yung channel na to. Medyo matagal-tagal na rin. So bro, ako personally, I'm very happy. Thank you so much at konting palakpak naman sa ating mga U3 fans natin. Nandito si Sir Nico. Sir Nico, interested ako, Nico, bro, kasi recently, especially recently, you've been very active sa politics and yung show ko nga kasi, social cultural, social commentary show.
Yes, exactly.
Gusto ko malaman mo.
Matagal ka nang nagaganito eh.
Correct. Gusto ko malaman yung yung background mo dito, bro. Like, why do you think politics is interesting at saka bakit kinakailangan tayong may alam sa mga nangyayari sa paligid natin?
Okay una muna yung yung first idea ko muna dito or yung first rationale ko. Yeah. It is the most sustainable content ngayon sa YouTube. That's it. Yun yung main reason ko. Ibig kong sabihin, ang drama ngayon sa YouTube, hindi ganun kalakas eh. Kasi everyone wants political drama. Kasi yun yung forte ng channel ko after yung Victor Magtanggol days eh. Yung naging drama channel ako eh. Yung mga drama ng mga social media influencer, which I totally hate, bro. Don't get me wrong I don't enjoy it. Yung paggagawa ng debunk ng mga drama sa internet. I never enjoy that, bro. Pero syempre when you're in the academe, ang dami mong pwedeng i-relate na concepts, mga learning theory, mga psychological theory, tapos yung major ko na physics, pwede mong lagyan 'yon, di ba? Pwede mong lagyan ng kulay itong mga social media issues na it's totally nonsense parang mababaw na usapan yan eh. So ngayon kasi everyone wants to talk about politics. Tapos ako naman remember back in the pandemic ng 2020, everyone was calling me DDS, di ba? DDS ka, Nico David. Remember that, bro?
So, na-remember ko doon yung nagbibigay ka ng proof tapos pinapakita mo yung baller mo.
Oo, yun. Hindi, kasi I was teasing people about that. Pero
that was so funny.
Pero ang mostly the kids were labeling me as DDS. Yun yung label nila sa akin eh. Kasi etong mga Gen Z na to, they really like to generalize things. Yeah, alam mo yun. Yung mga bata ngayon sa internet, they really love to generalize things. Like kunyari may isa kang political affiliation. Okay, automatic DDS ka kaagad. So I realize na you cannot be neutral sa mga panahon ngayon. You have to make a stand.
Okay.
Yun yung pangalawang reason ko. Number one, it's sustainable. Number two, you have to make a stand. You have to make your stand clear. Hindi ka pwede mag-neutral kasi pag nag-neutral ka, people with impunity ilalagay ka sa isang political spectrum,
or in
which
a box,
is masakit,
no? Parang
kasi
makakahon ka, no?
Oo, which is masakit kasi when you are put in a political spectrum, meron na kaagad na mga kaakibat na anong tawag doon, na mga yung mga characteristics. Parang ano yan parang
may label ka na,
remember,
kumbaga, no?
O may label ka na. 'Di ba sa I think yung idea of conditioning na sino ba yun, si Pavlov yata yun, or classical yata yun, or yung isang type
yung binibigyan, nilalagyan ng suka tapos nagsasalivate na yung aso, 'di ba? Yun ba yun? Or yung may bell, pag pinapakain na may
exactly.
bell.
So ganun ang nangyayari sa internet. Your image sa internet gets conditioned with when you are affiliated with one political ideology. Automatic lahat ng content mo, regardless of how good the content is going to be put in that two-dimensional space of political ideology. So ngayon, I have to make the stand very, very clear. Go ahead.
Okay. So when this is happening, people, some of your viewers are labeling you na DDS ka. What was your immediate reaction?
No, okay lang sa akin kasi ang lakas ng DDS content. Gets mo? Kasi most of the people likes the Duterte administration. To tell you the truth, most of them love Duterte administration. I don't know kung ilang percentage doon yung troll farms. I don't know kung ilang percentage doon yung talagang sumusuporta sa akin. Pero there is a clear distinction na it's so hard to tell, pero alam mo na some of them are from a troll farm and some of them are from real people. So
yun ba yung may mga Indian names, bro? Yun ba yung may mga Indian names?
Yeah. Pero it's so weird kasi ang lakas ng content mo pag DDS content ka, pag pro ka, which is pero ang akin lang talaga, ang gusto kong suportahan yan is the vocal minority of the internet, yung woke crowd, kasi they are going to be the one who would be the, parang sila yung hindi sila yayaman ng sobra, hindi rin sila hihirap ng sobra. Habang they are going to be the backbone of this country. Sila yung middle class 'di ba? Okay. Gets mo?
Yeah.
I go.
Please. No, please.
I can support I can go full blown BBM. I can full blown DDS. Mas madali 'yun mas madaling kumuha ng pera doon Pero I'm thinking of the kids or yung mga nasa middle class na tao na they want to be heard pero they don't have the time, they don't have the effort, pero pag nakita nila ako, they would be alam nila yung sentiment ko, as I understand you mga bro, kahit konti lang tayo, I understand you na it's a very hard stand to take talagang ngayong mga panahon ngayon kasi and also as an educator, most of my yung mga ka-batch ko na they are all anti-Marcos because we know the history. We know kasi ngayon everything is being revised. Like for example, best example ngayon, sorry medyo medyo nag-off tangent ako. Pero anyway, those are my two, those are my two reasons. Number one is sustainable content. Number two is yung I don't want people, yung political, yung image ko sa politika, I don't want to have this neutral stand anymore. I have to be firm kung nasaan ako sa political spectrum. That is why I'm making political content. Na hindi ako DDS. Right. At lalong-lalo nang hindi ako nag-BBM. I don't support a fascist go. I don't support someone who is part of the Marcos regime back in the day.
Sure. Kasi so sa mga viewers lang muna kasi ito, I always get this comment and every time I have an interview, some people would be angry kasi nag-a-agree ako, meron akong mga nag-a-agree ako by saying or yeah or something like that. First of all, disclaimer ito, this is a discussion. Hindi ito formal na interview. Okay? So, una pala
we
sinasabi
we can discuss debates.
Why are you cutting off, why are you cutting off Nico? Or why are you introducing something, So, gusto ko lang maliwanagan sa mga viewers natin kasi it kind of irritates me because an interview is an interview, a discussion is discussion. Sometimes discussion, kinakailangan mo kasing ma-mention yung idea mo kasi in the flow of conversation, nawawala.
Exactly.
But anyway, so na-mention mo bro kanina Gen Z medyo minor thing about your demographics bro ng channel ng Nico David channel, and I know you've established yourself. It's way bigger than my channel. I only have a 5-digit subscriber number. Ikaw nasa 6-digit na yung sayo. Pero I'm curious, how would you describe yung demographics mo bro? Kasi I would tell you about me sa Usap Usap University, ang demographics ko bro is 24 years old, interestingly, and higher.
Yeah.
Medyo mas
24
matanda.
years old and higher.
Oo, yan ang demographics ko. So which is I'm very happy. In some ways, I felt that they are quite mature. So sa'yo naman bro, please tell me kasi the reason why I'm asking this is gusto kong malaman din yung how do you treat your content that would be parang bite-sized and kayang i-absorb ng demographics mo. I'm curious about your story.
Ito nga yung mahirap ngayon Kasi sabi ko nga sa'yo, yung na-accumulate ko na mga
followers,
subscribers ko from 2020 hanggang 2021 are all BBM supporters. Kaya sobrang hirap mag-stand nito. Kasi look man, it's not that I don't understand in the internet. It's just that I'm standing for what is right.
Sure.
Ngayong mga panahon na to or what I believe is right.
Correct.
Ngayon totoo lang the argument of teka lang, ayoko muna mag-off tangent doon. Parang tumatalon-talon ako sa topic. Anyway.
Okay lang yan.
So yun yung idea ko ngayon, bro, na parang I understand kung ano yung demographics ko. Usually kasi ang demographics ko is between 10% of my audience are kids. 12 to 17, 10%
wow.
A good portion of that, I think yung blunt nung siguro mga 60 or 75%, hindi naman 75%. Siguro mga nandun are all 18 to 30 to 35 years old male.
Male, no?
After nung drama ko with the Axie people, nabawasan ako nung mga 35 and above. Ang nakikinig sa akin ngayon yung mga late bloomers yung mga late millennials at saka early Gen Zs, yung mga Gen Zs na papasok ngayon. So I have a pretty young audience na mga kagaya ko. Pero 'di ba, nandun yung demographics ko So ngayon, I'm really having a hard time figuring out what's the correct configuration of content na ibibigay sa kanila. Kasi the thing is, if I look at my analytics, ang pinakamainit na content ko are the criticisms kay Bongbong Marcos, which ironically ayaw nung ibang audience ko. So nahahati yung audience ko.
Yes.
Can you imagine how hard it is? The only thing na nag-a-agree kami is the social media drama. Ang problema nga lang ngayon, there is no social media drama na sustainable. Gets mo? Na hindi ko pwedeng araw-arawin. I cannot do memes kasi konti lang yung 10 to 12 yung demographics ko na bata which is pag nakuha mo yung demographics na bata talaga sa YouTube, lalayayaman ka I mean, look at Doggy, look at Paulo, look at yung ibang si Christian PH, all of them, yung demographics nila are the kids. So madaling gumawa ng content sa kanila. Basically anything you put out, okay na. Kasi mga bata yung nanonood sa iyo Pero when you have audience like myself na they can think now for themselves, mahirap gumawa ng content na engaging sa kanila.
Right.
So ironically, I have to do BBM content. I have no choice. Almost tied yung like for example, yung pinakamalakas kong content ngayong month na to is yung Rob Moya content. It has 80,000 views.
Wow.
Pero one time, big time lang yon. Pero pag inad mo lahat ng content ko for the last February, ang pinakamatataas na content is anything related to politics.
Yeah,
diba?
right.
The people actually wants to hear me for some reason. I don't know kung they just want to hear me to hate me, or I don't know if they want to hear my point of view para maiba yung kanilang perspective sa political
here's
spectrum.
the thing. I really need to mention this kasi ako, bro, before starting off, ito yung konting background lang, and some members of U3, yung mga ating mga supporters dyan, they know this. I started as a writer. Actually, yun yung start ko. 2009 pa lang, nagsusulat na ako sa political blog ko, and then 3 years after that, may mga articles ako na pinick up ng GMA, kaya nakapagsulat ako sa GMA, Rappler, ABS-CBN, even CNN. I have written some articles there. So the point is,
magsulat.
So that was my, kumbaga parang traditional media talaga ako nag-start, and I was very young that time. So tumawid ako 2015 to vlogging. So doon ako nag-start. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is, I think, and this is my belief, the reason also why I shifted from writing into vlogging is nakita ko yung shift din ng interest ng mga audience, na hindi lang siya sa edad natin. Sinabi kong edad natin, nasa mga idea na kayo kung ano yung generation namin. But anyway, sa newer generation especially, nagiging iba yung behavior nila as to attention. Nag-iiba din yung form of content na gusto nila. Back in the day, yung mga blogs napaka-reliable. We trust blogs for everything. Pero ngayon, vlogs, and then micro-vlogging pa with Twitter, and micro-vlogging with TikTok. Micro-vlogging. Actually, TikTok is Twitter on video. That's how I would look at it. So,
and TikTok is really dangerous now. Kasi basically, ganito kasi, I don't know which idea I'm trying to quote here. Pero ang people will always trust someone they are familiar with.
Correct. Yeah,
I agree. For example, si Kong. If Kong said something na outrageous, some people would trust him. Kahit outrageous yung claim niya.
Parang hook, line, and sinker, kumbaga, no?
Exactly.
Kuha talaga lahat.
Ito, I don't want to mention the name of this guy, pero he is a pro-Marcos vlogger. And pinanonood ko yung content niya. He is an idiot. Like legitimately an idiot. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I don't want to mention the name of this person, pero like pinanonood ko yung content niya. Yung anything to make the Marcos name sound smart, or sound good, sasabihin niya. Ang galing eh. Kunyari yung there was this one GMA report kay Mel Tiangco na pinakita niya yung mga documents to prove na yung yaman ng mga Marcoses are legitimate or something like that. Basta yung mga sobrang 350,000 documents na yun. Pero the thing is, a document doesn't really mean anything unless basahin mo yung document tapos abususin mo. That's why ang mga court cases tumatagal, lalong-lalo na kung tambak ng mga documents.
Yeah.
Like for example, bibigyan ko ng example. I have this paper. Itong paper na to, may nakasulat dito na milyonaryo ako. Tapos lalagyan ko ng mga abubot yung paper na yan. Tapos idea is that the document doesn't really prove anything unless binusisi mo yung documents na yan. It doesn't matter how many the document is, as long as hindi mo alam yung content niyan. So kailangan mong busisiin yun. And the problem with the due process here in the country is that kailangan mong busisiin yung dokumento na yan. That's why yung mga cases na maliliit or lalong-lalo na yung mga malalaki tumatagal ng taon.
Right.
Kasi kasi 'di ba, ang tagal talaga ng proseso. People don't realize this na kaya the Marcoses keeps getting away with it. Kasi the elder Marcos was smart enough para tambakan yung opposition ng kailangan nyo, ito yung mga proof namin, sige, kayo ang nag-accuse sa amin, kailangan patunayan nyo. 'Di ba? So alam mo yun, so ang tagal talaga ng mga kaso nila. Pero it is easier to make a 10-minute video na praising it, na sasabihin mo yung mga document na yan is proof of the Talano gold, is proof of the Yamashita gold. So, tapos, it creates an echo chamber na since maraming views, maraming likes, this guy must be telling the truth. When in fact, he's not. He's a fucking moron, dude.
So here's my question, Nico, no? Kasi
no.
Tayo lumaki tayo, tumagal tayo sa mundo ng social media, nakita natin yung evolution. Like what I said, I've been doing it 2009, doon na actually nagsulat na ako. Yung sabi ko nga, and in 2015, I saw the evolution talaga ng social media. Kasi ako, nasa blogspot lang ako dati noon eh. But ang gusto kong malaman, bro, is sa pag-evolve na ito, ano yung dangers na nakita mo with the social media now, and maybe you can touch up on how toxic it is and how are you dealing with it?
Ulit, gaano siya ka-toxic ngayon? Yung ba yung tanong mo sa akin?
Politically.
Hindi, in general lang ha.
Okay.
Kasi ngayon do you remember yung Bloom's taxonomy nung araw?
Sorry,
kasi it's Bloom's taxonomy, yung hierarchy of learning. Pag magtuturo ka ng bata.
Okay.
Remember, understanding, apply, analyze. Yung it's a triangle na parati kong inuulit-ulit yun kasi parati kong nakikita sa mga tao yun. Hindi tayo makapag-intindihan sa internet kasi we have different sets of facts na pinaniniwalaan natin. Doon pa lang sa level of understanding natin, iba-iba na agad tayo. Comprehension pa lang iba-iba na.
Correct.
So we cannot debate. Kasi pag nagdi-debate ka, kailangan alam mo yung dalawang set ng facts. Or alam mo yung dalawang panig
sides,
para
magkaintindihan
ka. Oo. So, alam mo yung sides of the coin and you are okay with those two sides of the coin. Like for example, abortion. Like mag-uusap tayo ng abortion. You know yung kabilang side, and hindi ka ma-offend kung tama yung isa. Kasi you know them, you know it all. Alam mo yung dalawang panig. So, ngayon sa internet, people don't have that kind of mentality. Ang alam nila, may tama, may mali. Yung paborito kong content creator, yun yung tama. Going back dun sa kanina, kay,
yung influence nga.
Yung pro Marcos vlogger na yun. It doesn't matter kung ano yung sabihin niya. Basta people like what he says. And when people like what he says, they all agree, they all put the like button, he must be telling the truth. The truth now becomes relative. Facts becomes secondary. Subjective na siya. Pero that is the greatest paradox nitong era na to ng internet.
Correct.
When facts are not facts anymore. They become like opinion. Di ba nga yun nga yung opposite ng opinion, facts di ba? So alam mo yun,
parang ironic,
it's frustrating. Ironic na talaga
pero
siya.
Coming from the traditional media, bro, ma-insert ko lang. It really concerns me kasi maganda yung sinabi mo na yung influence ng mga influencer nga, mga vloggers na yan, parang people take it as it is. And I think in some ways, there is, I may not want to say this, but kind of a distrust of the mainstream media, quote-unquote mainstream media. Kasi it seems to me na mas gusto pa nilang paniwalaan itong mga influencers, mga TikTok, katulad nga nung ginawa mong content kay Kim Chu nung maglumabas sa iyo. Itong recent one that you made, yung sabi niya na marami siyang natututunan at marami siyang natutunan sa TikTok, 'di ba? Nasabi niya 'yon. So which is I find very funny. But anyway, the point there is there seems to me parang naging distant na yung Gen Z and the younger generation in particular sa kung anong sinasabi ng media, which I think is quite dangerous. It is quite dangerous.
It is dangerous.
Yeah,
kasi
because
wala na eh.
People are doing this as a profession. Technically, media people are doing it as a profession. Truth is their profession.
Exactly.
So it kind of bothers me really. Kaya ako medyo nahihirapan ako, to be honest with you, when I had a content that I said bahag ba ang buntot ni Bongbong Marcos, that's why he's not joining any debates. I lost some subscriber counts. Kasi that's just how it is.
I lost every day. Bro, pag anti-Marcos yung content ko, you get a lot of clicks, pero you get a lot of unsubscribes too. Kasi hindi nila gusto yung political ideology mo. Pero you're not telling something false. You're telling an opinion na it really doesn't matter in the long run. Pero the thing is, kasi ngayon, yung truth kasi ngayon, it's so super relative nowadays. Like,
and it's sad. I think it's sad.
Yeah, it's sad. Kasi, like for example, hindi, kasi, kunyari, Rappler. Ito ang Rappler kasi minsan talaga, they have a very hard stand sometimes. Sa mga political issues. Kaya sinasabihan silang bias. And kunyari si Janjan yung si Janjan Kasangkay kasi marami siyang content sa Rappler sinasabi niya talaga na bias ang Rappler. So yung mga fans niya, which is significant kasi meron siyang 800,000 na followers very significant yun. Pinitake in nila yon as something na totoo, which is sad kasi dapat may journalistic integrity yan mga yan They're not, kung meron silang pinuput forward, it's not an agenda. Actually, it's facts. Kunyari, sinabi nila na may ganitong numbers, may ganitong statistics na namatay sa martial law.
Yeah.
It's not propaganda. It's just saying numbers. Hindi propaganda, bro. Or kung sinabi nila kung sinabi nila na si Bongbong Marcos ay hindi gumawa nung di ba dun sa campaign niya yung sa it must be facts na hindi siya yung gumawa noon. Hindi sila naninira kay Bongbong Marcos kasi yun yung fine-frame nito mga vloggers na to na sinisiraan nila si BBM. Like imagine historians, journalists, critics, and then media, they're all against someone like BBM kasi they know what happened in the past. May consensus nun kung anong nangyari sa the past. Pero someone ngayon sasabihin lang history was written by the
victors.
The victors. Okay, kasi lahat ng after ni ni Marcos ay dilawan.
Actually, din at saka palpak. Walang significant naman talaga na change after it. I would have to agree on that.
Yeah, pero the thing is, not everyone was aligned with the Aquino ideology. Siguro yung dalawang Aquino na presidente natin, but was Erap dilawan? Was Ramos a dilawan? Was Gloria a dilawan? Hindi ata, di ba? Iba-iba sila. Was Duterte a dilawan? Actually, hindi, di ba? Opposite of that, di ba? Si Duterte ngayon and si GMA din, hindi rin, di ba? So, alam mo yun, may sarili silang mga political estilo, brands, di ba? Estilo, hindi sila Aquino, hindi sila So, pero everything is being boiled down into two. Yung mga nananalo ngayon mga Aquino. Actually, hindi nga ang sino nakaupo ngayon? Si Duterte. Duterte is not an Aquino. So what are you saying na history is written by the victors? Kung talagang totoo yan, edi sana iniba na ni Duterte yung history books. The fact na nandyan pa rin yung Martial Law Reparation Act at hindi rin ni-repeal yun ng current administration tells you a lot about the veracity of that law.
Gusto ko din ma-mention to Nico kasi it's very difficult to sift through the difference between BBM and then his father. It's difficult to talk about Bongbong without talking about what his father did. It's because that's who he is, that's linked to him. Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Yeah, gusto ko lang ituloy to Nico, Yeah, like what I was saying, I think it's very difficult na hindi pwedeng mapag-usapan yung nangyari sa past ng martial law kapag pinapag-uusapan natin si BBM. Kasi ang magiging direksyon ng votes na against sa kanya is also based on his history. Yung mga ginawa ng kanyang magulang at ang legasiya mismo ng Marcos. Prior to this, gusto ko lang share sa audience natin prior to this we were talking behind the scene ni Nico kanina. And what's interesting is on the concept of the freedom of speech itself. I think gusto kong i-mention to kasi the very fact that we can talk about this or at least criticize someone like Duterte or Bongbong or any other politician for that matter, it's a sign that ang freedom natin is very healthy to speak.
Buhay na buhay.
Buhay na buhay. Imagine niyo nga yan kung panahon niyo ng martial law. Just imagine kung anong mangyayari sa inyo. You will be arrested, you will be punished, especially kapag yung sinasabi is against the government. And gusto ko lang din ma-mention yung concept ng censorship because I think the reason also why marami ding percentage ng mga matatanda, even matatanda ha, na pro-Marcos or gusto na para sa kanila golden age ang Marcos time para sa kanila is because during that time censored din sila sa information. Yun ang hindi nila alam.
Exactly.
Televisions were shut down.
Sorry to say the bad words. Pero like bigyan kita ng idea. Voltes 5 nga nun, banned eh.
Correct.
ABS-CBN was shut down.
Yeah, shut down talaga. Correct.
Kasi they have an anti-Marcos sentiment. So, sinut down sila. Diba? Talaga.
So, sa panahon na limitado yung information ng mga tao, pahayagan, radio at telebisyon, so would you expect na feeling nila masama ang nangyayari sa Marcos time? So, ganun din yun eh.
Of course not. Kasi
yung censorship na is a very interesting concept kasi it would actually affect generations kasi if tatanungin mo yung iba, how is your experience during the Marcos time? And they would say, it was great. You know, I was studying well, may maganda, may disiplina yung mga tao. Pero how about yung mga abuses na nangyari nung panahon na yon? Na-mention nga ni, di ba, ni Luke Espiritu kagabi? When he was, bardagulan sila ni Roque, di ba? At saka ni, who was the other one? Yung sinabihan niya, si Larry Gadon, di ba?
Si Gadon.
So sinabi niya, these are figures.
Binigyan niya yung stats.
Exactly. Yeah. Amnesty International and these are the numbers. So no one can dispute that kasi it's on record.
Off tangent lang, bro. Kasi within the context ng pinag-uusapan mo. Actually the most disappointing person nung was Harry Roque. Binabasa ko yung kanyang bio. Ang talino pala niya. Like he is really a good lawyer.
Uy, kampanya yan. Naman.
Oo. Yeah. Ang masakit pa doon, Harry Roque understands kung gaano ka evil yung Marcoses yung Marcos regime by the numbers. They don't respect human lives back in the day, or at least they don't. If you oppose the government, you will be sanctioned to the fullest without any trial. So alam mo yun, as a lawyer, how can you consolidate that kind of mentality? Unless of course nagpakain ka dun sa sistema ng politika. Which is sad kasi ganun yung nangyayari yata kay Harry Roque ngayon.
There will be, ako personally, there will be two assumptions ako dyan for that, no? Because he is in a possible, winning slate because ang pag-endorse sa'yo at binigyan ka ng slot bilang senatorial candidate na ginawa nga ni BBM and Sara sa kanya, it makes him parang highly possible to be elected, di ba? So ako, ang ina-assume ko dyan two things. Number one, he would use his brilliance na para makapag-further ng magandang batas, which is, I think, it's good. Kumbaga, I'm not saying na the best case scenario yan, pero I'm hopeful na if ever, kasi nga, malaking hatak ang BBM Sara crowd eh. We know that. So, ang iniisip ko is, doon ako sa, kumbaga, I'm just being optimistic ako. Optimistic ako. And I know this could be impossible. It could be. But what I'm saying is, I'm hoping na kung maluklok man siya being a senator, he would use his brilliance to really enforce and approve good laws. The second assumption naman sa akin,
parang long game lang to. Clown now, tapos pag nakuha niya yung gusto niya.
Hindi ko sinasabing babalikan siya. It's a risk. And he's a smart guy. I think it's part of his strategy talaga.
Yun nga eh.
Kasi any advantage though, bro, di ba? Nico, you know this. Any advantage na pwede mong matake for you to win, they would do that. So that's one thing na nakita ko. I'm not saying na I'm pro in that kind of step na ginawa ni Roque. Second assumption ko sa kanya is, ang problema nun is magkakaroon ka ng utang na loob. Di ba? Kasi nga binigyan ka ng favor ng isang napakalakas na partido, what would you do? Di ba? So, yun yung concern ko sa mga ganito. And again, it boils down sa political science. Ito yung sign kasi ng ating immaturity as a democracy.
What do you mean by that?
Ang problema sa atin kasi, this whole concept that we had is a hybrid of sorts. We are not even an old country. Yung mga institutions natin bilang isang demokratiko na bansa, napakahina. At yun ay impluwensya ng napakaraming bagay, relihiyon, panatisismo, at ang overall na mal-edukasyon ng mga Pilipino. So, kung titingnan mo yung literacy rate natin, napakababa. So, totoo lang. Kaya nga, di ba, sino magkaka-interest sa politika? Sa totoo lang, like what you said, people like more kind of like fun content, drama sa social media and all these things. I'm not saying that these are inferior entertainment. Hindi ko naman sabihin yan kasi I value also what they value. But what I'm saying is, as to the level ng edukasyon na kailangan mo for an intelligent society, wala.
Hindi pa tayo nakakaabot dun. This is why, ngayon kasi, the buzzword now is critical thinking. Sa comment section ko. Nasaan yung critical thinking mo?
Right.
When in fact, if you look at, kasi look man, critical thinking is a skill that is very hard to develop. Would you agree?
Yeah, of
course. Like for example, kapag ka ikaw ay nasa academe, hindi yan ituturo agad sa'yo eh. There are steps para makaabot ka sa critical thinking. Parang sa algebra yan eh, or sa mathematics yan. You won't go to calculus agad. You have to go to the basic mathematics. Step by step. Yeah. Ano muna, addition muna, subtraction, multiplication, division. So is critical thinking. People are missing that out ngayon as Sir JR. So pero ngayon pag hindi ka woke, hindi ka politically woke, wala ka kaagad critical thinking. And the problem here is that yung ating society ngayon, yung entertainment ng society natin ngayon, doesn't foster to critical thinking. Pagka meron kang kinriticize na isang palabas, kunyari Victor Magtanggol, bakit ka sausaw ng sausaw, bro? Bakit ka ganun? Ano ba yan? Hindi, sana ikaw na lang naging director.
O ikaw na lang yung nag-animate.
Ikaw na lang nag-animate. Mas magaling ka ba? Ano ang bag mo? So, these are all small exercises in critical thinking. A society na alam yung ginagawa mo wouldn't take offense of that. They would find it funny. It's a joke. It's technically para mong ginagamitan ng technical mathematics ang isang napakasimpleng bagay. Basically ganun yung ginagawa ko kapag nang kikriticize ako ng mga shows, ng mga social media influencer. Pero people don't understand that because it's a hard concept to grasp yung critical thinking. Hindi porke sinabi mo na critical thinking, meron ka na agad nun. Most people don't have it. Kasi ito yung facts pa lang nahihirapan na tayo If someone can change what you know sa isang bagay without any prior evidence, you would understand how these people think.
Right.
Hindi ganun kataas.
I always find it interesting, bro, no? Kasi we're talking about parang yung how ready are we intellectually as a country. Ako, personally, yung paningin ko dyan, maganda yung pagiging maingay Kasi galing Pinoy yan maingay talaga tayo. Marami tayong marites, marami tayong mga tambay sa kanto na kahit na, Ukraine, ako nga, isang araw nga, nasa 7-Eleven ako, yung guard tsaka yung staff doon, nag-uusap Ukraine tsaka Russia. Sabi nila, mas malaki yung Ukraine, yung mga ganun. I find it interesting, but on the other hand, do you think, gusto ko malaman yung perspective mo, bro, meron bang, lumalabas ba na naging kahingnaan natin ito na mahilig lang tayong pumuna ng mga o hindi malalim na pagpuna na pag-criticize, kumbaga yung surface level yung kaya nating punahin. Do you think this is a weak point natin bilang mga Pilipino, or you think mas dapat sa atin?
It has to start somewhere, bro. It has to start somewhere.
So you're saying this is baby steps to. This is a good step towards something good.
Kasi look man, kailan lang natin nakuha yung full-fledged democracy? Wala pang technically, if you're going to start sa EDSA, it's just 36 years old. Yung true democracy na natatamasa natin ngayon, it's 36 years pa lang yun. And you know what? Actually, BBM's presidency, it's really not a shot on democracy, but actually democracy in play. Gets mo?
Sure.
Kasi ngayon, people are saying na kalokohan ng EDSA, kaya ibalik natin si BBM. When in fact, it's the other way around. He is able to run for this country because kasi the law allows it. Technically, wala siyang
maybe
ginawa.
pwede natin ma-rephrase na the law does not prohibit it.
The law doesn't prohibit it. Tama. Mas maganda yun Mas maganda yung framing na yun The law doesn't prohibit it.
Yep.
And pangalawa, it's thanks to dun sa ginawa mo 36 years ago, kaya siya nakakatakbo ulit, regardless of his last name. And ironically, yun din yung pinaalis mo. So bakit yun yung ibabalik mo? That's the beauty of democracy. People's power talaga.
Sometimes, matawid ko lang, Nico, one way of looking at democracy, something that I was thinking about maybe 4 days ago. I said, I think democracy gives you the license to be stupid. And it's just okay. Parang
it's okay
napaka-interesting niya na konsepto kasi kaya mong magpaka-stupid. Like really, 'di ba? And you can do that in this kind of environment. What I'm saying is napakalaya ng ideas na pwede mong magawa sa isang demokratiko na bansa na hindi mo ma-experience pag naging totalitarian yung isang bansa, pag naging under ito sa military dictatorship, talagang napakahirap. Pero ito bro, kasi we're moving on into various issues and we know the surveys. Hindi nga sumusulpot yung iba dyan di ba? Anong masasabi mo bro sa magiging quote-unquote demise natin? Like, I honestly think that BBM
demise ba?
I would say demise because in some ways, it's something that we could have prevented.
That's a pretty strong word.
Of course.
That's a pretty strong word.
Yeah, I would use that
word.
Why?
Let me just ask you.
Why. Sure. Ako sinasabi ko yan kasi dahil nga naging demise to ng sariling demokrasya natin. Na kumbaga dahil sa pagiging open natin, pagiging mapagpatawad natin bilang lipunan, na kayang lumusot ulit yung mga ganitong aspekto. And
eto. Yeah, bro. Sorry to cut you off. Hindi ba parang that's the essence of democracy? You can be stupid.
Sure, yun nga. Pero what I'm
saying is, so people are being stupid, bringing this guy back. Pero it doesn't mean na stupid yung society natin in general. Yeah. Do you get that? Kasi parang it's a strong word yung demise.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I just have the assumption, at least in my perspective, that it's not good for our democracy. It's not good for our democracy. Kasi nga, in other countries, bro, dictatorships are killed. Tingnan mo sa Czechoslovakia, Slovakia, and other Baltic countries. Kaya nga, di ba, itong global na issue natin, na yung nagsaside sila sa West, kasi the assumption is this, kung may dalawang malaking person naglalaban, ang EU, ang NATO for that matter, and then ang Russia, kung talagang magandang inaalok ng ito, ng dating USSR, ba't kinakailangan nilang umalis yung mga dating Soviet states?
Exactly.
Di ba?
Kasi it's not good. It's not good.
Well, that could be our assumption. So, what I'm saying is, going back, matinik sila sa kanilang mga bansa. Pinapatay nila yung mga dictators nila. And this has never happened in the Philippines. That's because of our nature. Now, we're loving, we're forgiving. And I think it played against our own destiny. Tandaan mo, and you know this, and the figures itself would tell, hindi lumago ang ekonomiya natin, especially sa later part ng panahon ni Marcos. The first parts was okay. 1965, the first term was really good actually. Merong semblance ng vision for a country. Meron talaga 1965.
Actually, if you look at the statistics nga bro, just look at the statistics, yung economic GDP natin noon, it went downhill after nung nagsisimula na yung martial law.
Correct.
Yung tinatawag nilang first quarter storm, alam mo ba yun?
1971 yan, yeah.
Oo, di ba? After nun talaga, it went downhill from there.
Correct.
And people are saying golden age. Ang alam ko kasi sa golden age, your statistics are up. Pataas yung trend mo ng statistics. Pero when you look at the depth ng Pilipinas during the martial law era, during the alam mo yun, ito yung hindi maintindihan ng tao eh. Pandemic numbers, yung nung aalis na yung matandang Marcos nung panahon na yun, pandemic numbers. How can you have a pandemic numbers na wala namang pandemic?
Correct.
Your country must be fucking up.
Yeah. I do understand it, and I recognize that too, of course. Ito yun, actually, kaya nga sinabi kong demise, di ba? Kasi in a political science perspective, bro, napag-iwanan tayo ng napakalayo, sa totoo lang. Even ngayon, ang Vietnam nga, mas mataas na yung GDP sa atin, di ba? Per capita, mas mataas na ang Vietnam. And dati, ano lang yung Vietnam? Nothing against my Vietnamese friends, pero genetically Vietnamese ako. Genetically.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nagpa-test ka?
I'm 31.57% Vietnamese, bro.
Wow.
Mind blown, man. At 45% Chinese. 45%. And I never lived Chinese. But anyway, That's beside the point. What I'm saying is, nung mga panahon na yan, 1970s, 1980s, tingnan mo ano nangyayari sa South Korea. Ang South Korea, they were able to have their own miracle, economic miracle. Anong nangyari sa mga mga kasabayan natin? Ang China din nagpe-prep up din ng kanang economy at these decades. Ang Japan was the highest economic performance nila nasa 1980s. 70s to it's tumatawid yan. Nagkaroon sila ng iba't ibang mga brands. And nakakaingit nga 'di ba? LG, Korea, LG, Lotte, ano pa ba? Samsung. Pero tayo anong meron tayo? 'Di ba?
Malaysia naiwan tayo.
So ano 'yun, 'di ba? Yung mga kasunod sinasabi mo, wala nga pandemic, pero bakit tayo bumaba? There has to be something wrong with the management, 'di ba?
Exactly.
Paano yung golden age yun?
Yun nga yung irony dun eh. Just look at the numbers, bro. The numbers tell you everything kasi the numbers will never lie sa'yo. Imposible yan historically revised and imposible yan na and kasi when you say, sabi ng tatay ko, sabi nung mga nakakatanda sa akin, these are all qualitative assessment. Wala yung I mean, ganito mo na lang tignan. Was your father a historian? Was your lolo a historian? Was your father an economist? So that's why you go to you first listen to your teachers. Yung second, kung gusto mo ng mas malalim, you listen to your economists, you listen to the wag sa lawyers kasi lawyers have different agenda. You listen to people with objective takes on the matter.
Well, I think sa law, napasok mo yung law, bro, no? Siguro sa lawyers naman, in the aspect lang siguro of law formulation, pwede mo namang makuha yung truth naman. Kasi may mga cases naman talaga na written na yung mga korte natin na mga records mismo ng kunwari tax evasion cases for example. Nandiyan naman yan on record and I'm pretty sure some of these lawyers know that naman. So in some ways
this is my perspective why I don't believe lawyers anymore pagdating dito sa kasi sila Harry Roque, sila Gadon, they all have different takes and they're all lawyers.
Lawyers,
so, mas maganda siguro if we listen to someone na pwedeng magkaroon ng objective take dito. Sure. Like an economist, for example, di ba? So sila, they would have pretty much a very objective take sa martial law era, sa Marcos era. They wouldn't cheat you. Kasi ang trabaho nila is to actually help you understand the mathematics of this in layman's term, di ba? Yun yung gripes ko. That's why I don't listen anymore to lawyers na may agenda regarding dito. Not to knock off on any lawyers, not to knock off on any lawyer. Let me just be clear here kasi isa sa demographics ko talaga yung mga professionals na ganyan na they listen to me. Teka lang paano ba to? Yan. So, yun yung idea ko rito, bro. So, I would rather listen to economists or mathematicians na alam yung mathematics nito, yung puso nitong nangyayari ng martial law era, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
I think it's also good na we can share to our viewers, how should we treat fake news and what should we do about it? Umpisahan ko na, as a journalist. So you mentioned this, by the way, sa isa sa mga videos mo, bro, which I really like. Na-mention mo in one of your recent videos na you go ahead and follow the journalists' Twitter handles. You go and sundan mo ano yung mga sinasabi ng mga journalists na updates nila. Kasi they know firsthand what's happening.
Exactly.
That's one way of handling and battling fake news. Siyempre, yung Google, nandyan lang yan, di ba? Pwede nyo nang gamitin yan. Pag sinabi sa inyo na, nung panahon ng rehimeng Marcos, 1:1 daw yung dollar. 1 peso is $1 daw.
Yun nga eh. I mean, a simple Google search, bro, of yung forex history natin. You would know na during the martial law era, nag-start tayo ng tumaas from piso, naging 2 piso, hanggang sa pag-alis ng Elder Marcos to 30 pesos. So how is that naging 1:1? Diba?
To be technical, 1965 nag-start si Marcos. That's actually ang exchange rate niyan. $1 is 3.9. Around 3.9 na.
Exactly.
Hindi 1 or 2 pero talagang 3.9 na. So, doon pa lang mali na eh. Simple search lang yan. Correct.
Simple search lang yun eh. I'm sorry, hindi ko na alam yung exact figures. Pero I think nung pag-alis niya, nasa 30 plus na. Tama ba ako doon?
Mataas. Hindi pa naman.
Mataas pa rin eh. Pero it's not, or 12 pesos, something like that. Pero idea here is that hindi siya 1:1. Kalokohan na 1:1 ang exchange rate during the time of Marcos. 'Di ba? Yun yung idea rito eh. And people are missing this thing out. So parang nung panahon ni Marcos 1:1 yung dollar noon. Kung hindi siya nawala, magiging why? Hindi naman nag-a-anchor sa leadership ni Marcos yung bansa natin eh. Hindi talaga, or nitong darating na Marcos. Kasi yun yung idea ng most of the tao na boboto kay Marcos. Why are you voting a Marcos?
Mhm.
Well, unang, respect my opinion, pero hindi yun eh. Ang most of them will say sa inyo, nababalik kasi yung nakaraan. Ibabalik natin yung nakaraan. Ano yung nakaraan? Ano exactly yun? Yung 1:1 yung dollar, it was never 1:1. Dude, naiintindihan mo ba? Yung mga build. Well, puro utang tayo nun, kaya marami tayong napapatayo. Di ba?
Interestingly, merong merong political psychology dyan eh, na yung generations daw that were born out of poverty had a fantasy. They have a fantasy of a distant past that it was better. Got it?
Okay.
Yung isang generation katulad ngayon, dahil nakita natin puro kahirapan, we had this delusion that the recent past was better than what we are having right now. So ganun yun eh. So it's a tendency ng isang society yun. And nakakalungkot dahil nga they are thinking that it was really the glory days. Pero yun nga, without the facts, wala, bulag talaga eh. So,
kasi nga qualitative yung kanilang assessment. Yung sinabi kasi ng nanay ko na okay yan eh. Sinabi kasi ng tatay ko na okay yan. Nung nabuhay ng martial law era. Pero, alam mo yun, there's so much more to it. And ang masakit dito, it's not that hindi mo mahahanap yung information na to. In fact, you can. It only takes you, 20 minutes of your time? Di ba? Ngayon, most people would spend 1 hour, 2 hours sa internet watching streamers, watching
podcast
yung mga
maybe.
Podcast.
Yeah.
So,
katamaran ba yun, bro?
Di ba?
Katamaran, no?
Everything is already spoon-fed sa inyo mga panahon na to. All you need to do is search. Ang problema kasi, when you don't like what you hear, you don't watch it. Or wag na nga lang yun eh. Yung idea na lang na you do your own research sa mga bagay-bagay. Tingnan mo talaga kung totoo. Kasi it doesn't take you a lot of minutes to search yung nangyari sa martial law era. Correct. Ang problema lang ngayon kasi, yung propaganda of historical revisionism. Yun kasi yung totoong propaganda tuloy. Na ano ba yun? Number one, ang gumawa ng history natin, Dilawan, the demons of the sila Cory ang gumawa. Like, come on man, is she even competent enough to do that ng long game? Yung the two Aquino is dead. Sino gumawa na, si Bimbi? Di ba? Or the better explanation. Kaya historians, economists, journalists, teachers don't like the martial law era kasi we know what facts are, we know what the truth is, we know what the numbers are, what are the numbers are saying, and we are in the consensus na ito yung nangyari talaga. Kasi na meron kaming numbers eh. We have the numbers to back it up.
Right. Tapos, mentioning about numbers, bro, ito sinearch ko na talaga. So 1986 38.67.
Doon, tama ako, sabi ko sa iyo 30 pesos eh. I told you.
Kinakailangan natin mag-research, guys.
Ito hindi ko maintindihan eh. So how did we go down there? Ang sasabihin nila, hindi kasi bro, ganito yan. Kaya yan. Kasi ang daming komunista. Magiging communist country tayo kapag walang martial law, pag hindi inimpose yung martial law. Well, let me tell you about facts na naman tayo. Alam mo ba kung ilan yung komunista during the time of Ferdinand Marcos? There are only 3,000 na 2,000 to 3,000.
Correct.
Nandiyan yung
correct.
Yung etong na to, nasa CIA nasa CIA website to eh. Doon ko siya binasa. Oo. Tapos hindi lang 'yon. Prior to Ferdinand Marcos, yung mga ibang presidente already has this problem of communism and they were handling it well. Hindi nila kailangan ng sandatahang Pilipinas para sugpuin ang komunista. 'Di ba? Do you know this? Kasi so alam mo yon. So
yung thought ngayon, bro, 'di ba, na when Marcos declared martial law, siya yung naging rason para dumami yung recruits ng
Exactly.
NPA.
Yun nga eh. Kasi ano yan eh, parang ganito eh. Analogous ng antibiotic. Magte-take ka lang ng antibiotic kung sobrang dami na nung bacteria or nung virus sa katawan mo or the problem was there kaya pang i-control yung mga komunista in a very civil manner.
Baka through police force kaya, 'di ba? Kahit
exactly.
Yung law enforcement
lang natin. It was an overreaction. Martial law was an overreaction to communism in such a way that it would give Ferdinand Marcos absolute power. Yun kasi yun eh.
Correct.
Yun yung dahilan dun eh.
Yeah.
Isipin mo how long did martial law run? 21 years?
Correct. Yeah.
Hindi pa rin niya masugpo yung komunista for 21 years? Are you fucking kidding me? I mean, common sense na lang would tell you that.
Well, yung whole duration ng ni Marcos nasa 21, di ba? Pero 1970 yun. Oo. So, but
I think 1981, di ba? 81 yata tinigil yung 85. I'm not so sure.
But the point there is it was a long time that he ruled.
Yeah.
That's yung point dyan.
And nung during his time, maraming namundok na matatalinong tao kasi they don't like the regime. Niloloko sila nung mismong regime nila na sinusugpo yung komunista. Ang ending, siya yung naging pinakamalaking recruiter ng komunista sa Pilipinas. You know how ironic that was? Parang binomba mo ng antibiotic yung komunista. So ang nangyari, dumami sila lalo, di ba? Ngayon, imbis na you settle for diplomatic means, ayan. Pero it's not about it's not about just the komunista. It's about being in power for as long as he can. Parang ngayon kay Putin, di ba? Parang analogous yan eh.
Right. Pero before we go sa international, gusto ko lang ma-mention kasi I had quote unquote hard words in saying demise after the possibility of the Marcos presidency. So I would like to know about your perspective, bro. Kasi ako personally, I think Bongbong Marcos would surely win. That's how I see it, at least for now.
He is going to win.
Anong pananaw mo dito, bro? What are your expectations for a Marcos presidency and moving forward, how should we prosper as a country?
Oh, okay. I think i-clear muna natin yung survey kasi the survey is being criticized right now as tayo dalawa
by the oppositions daw, no? Itong mga
we're from the academe, bro. Tayong dalawa. We're from the academe and we know how these companies work. They will not cheat you sa pagkukuha ng data. Kasi meron silang mga protocols na sinusunod eh. I just want to clear that out kasi ibig lang sabihin talaga ahead si Bongbong Marcos sa survey. Yung reliability nun, yung predictability ng mga ganong klaseng test. It's a very good indicator of who is winning. 50% is huge. Like unprecedented yun.
Correct.
I could remember 1996, tama ba? Si ERAP 1996 or 1998?
1998. Yung election na yun.
Yung ganyang klase ng survey numbers were ERAP numbers.
Correct.
And you won landslide. Duterte not so much kasi may palag pa ng konti si Mar doon eh. Pero
malaki pa rin yung agot. Pero nung sa Duterte, malaki din yung agot na yun. Malaki
yung agot, pero not as this much. Diba? Halos halos durog eh. Lopsided to eh.
Yeah.
So alam mo yun, so as an educator, you understand two sides. You know two facts. You can debate kung actually madali lang sumaid kay BBM eh. Dali lang mag-Lenny content na anti-Lenny or anti-Isko and pro-BBM. Mas madali, mas maraming views. Actually to give you a rundown sa analytics ko when I'm doing anti-Lenny content, mas malakas yung views. Mas maraming nagla-like.
Kasi nga, sabi mo nga kanina, di ba, na medyo meron nang following yung mga BBM supporters sa channel mo. So, most likely, that's reflective That's reflective.
Yeah.
Sa akin naman, it's pro-government yung sa demographics ko. Usually, kaya nga, kasi nga, di ba, Sara is still Duterte. So, Sara is linked with BBM and most of them also support, kumbaga, quote-unquote, the judgment of a Duterte. Kaya nakipag-pair siya. So, most likely, you would have...
It's brand nila yun eh. Di ba? Nakakainis. Anyway, so, going back dun sa dun sa surveys, I just want people to have a little bit more faith in mathematics. Not in the survey, but the math na ginagamit nila. They would not cheat you. Okay? It's a good indicator of who's winning and who's not winning.
Yeah.
And ang pinaka-disappointing dito is, ako kasi, I gave the Duterte administration a shot. Naniwala ako dun sa war on drugs, 3 to 6 months. Everyone loves that. Parang 3 to 6 months pare.
Magic.
He was like the bad boy, So after noon, nakita natin it was so horrible. It was so horrible. It was yung mga act of atrocities on poor people. And I can even remember meron akong medyo mayaman na kaibigan noon who was doing, bad stuff.
Yeah.
I can't name the name. And he was really scared out of his mind. Pero ang sabi niya sa akin, hindi, may pera kami, so hindi kami gagalawin yan. And he was so right about it. Kasi the war on drugs was anti-poor. Talaga, pinapasok sila. I remember, anecdotal lang to, siguro chismis to. Yung mga, kasi, meron akong isang negosyo ko, bro, construction. Gumagawa ko, yung small time lang naman kami. So, ang ginagawa talaga doon, may quota daw sila, pinapasok daw talaga sa bahay yung mga tao. Tapos sasabihin ng laban. Diba? That's why
parang
laban,
the instruction was to have a particular number na magawa nila.
Particular. Have you heard of that? Pero
of course.
Ko na yun.
Yeah.
So anyway,
yung
sasabihin ng laban.
Hindi ako ganun nakapag-focus sa EJK, but there are of course cases of EJK, that's for sure. Ako naman, on the other hand, I give credit though for this administration sa Duterte for the infrastructure boom. Of course, the opposition may complain about
din
it.
Yun eh.
Yun nga, utang nga.
Utang din yun. Hindi rin Marcos style yun eh.
Yeah, pero
what is so nice about utang-utang dun sa ganyan? I mean,
first of all,
di ba mas maganda i-privatize na lang nila yan para wala tayong utang? Although hindi sa atin yung pero
may mga deals naman ganun. Kunwari, yung katulad ng PPP natin, yung private-public partnership na kung saan yung private muna ang mamamahala for like good 3 decades for example, and after that, bibigay na agad ng full sa gobyerno. Ganun kasi yung mga public-private partnerships. But that has happened with other countries actually. That ginagawa nila. May concern ako dyan syempre sa budget kasi napakalaki din ng na-spend niya. But then again, where should the investments go? It has to go to transportation. It has to go to para sa akin yung efficient na movements ng people na kailangan natin sa isang growing na population and growing economy. So hindi ako ganun ka opposed on the fact of building these things. But of course there are also negative sides to it for sure. But ang sinasabi ko lang is, meron namang good side akong nakita, especially na kung gagamit tayo ng Skyway, napakabilis na lang, so that's I think a good thing. But anyway, going back though, bro, so what are we expecting after these elections? Assuming na, what we assume nga na Bongbong will have a one-sided victory. What are you expecting? And then, what do you think will be...
Sorry na, off tangent lagi ako sa mga story. Kasi ikaw lang yung first na nakausap ko ng full-blown political political drama tungkol dito.
That's good.
Anyway, so yun. So, trust the surveys. Okay, trust the surveys. And, I don't know, would it change kung sino yung uupo? Really? Ganun ba ka-significant?
That's a good
after
question.
After the Duterte administration,
magandang tanong yan. Kasi the concern, the problem though, di ba, ang isang concern kasi dyan is for others, hindi, not just because siguro, I think others are not deep fanatics of Bongbong, pero I think the assumption is the continuity of the good things that they have seen. Yung parang, di ba? Kasi kung magkaka-change ka na naman ng another naman na party, quote-unquote, another person, there's a big possibility na hindi mapapatuloy yung mga proyekto. So I think in some ways...
Naalala mo yung sabi ni Yorme?
Alin doon?
Sabi gano'n ni Yorme. Iboboto niya na naman yung magkabilang panig. Magagantihan lang yan. Sabi ng gano'n.
May punto naman yun.
Yeah. Yeah, and sabi rin ng nanay ko, I mean, let me just quote my mom. I mean, wala lang naman yun eh. Hindi ba mas maganda that we get run by new people, new faces? Diba? Kasi if di ba ngayon, like, pero would you think na the younger Marcos would be like the older Marcos? I don't think so. Mm-hmm. Kasi the older Marcos is really smart. Like, worlds apart yung talino nila.
Okay, di natin sinasabi na yung kanyang mga diploma tama, genuine yung mga diploma ni older Marcos,
Kasi the older Marcos was a lawyer. Diba? Totoo yun. Right?
Kaya nga, genuine nga yung sa kanya. Okay, itong sa younger Marcos, may question dyan,
Diba, doon pa lang sa idea na, the guy is from Oxford, pero did he finish his degree even? Diba? Hindi, diba? I mean, pero sasabihin nila hindi daw big deal yun. Of course it's big deal. Of course it is. Kasi alam mo yung academic excellence ng tao eh. Doon mo ma-measure yun eh. Like, ako, graduate ako ng physics. Yun yung natapos ko, bro. Hindi madali yun. Pinaghirapan ko yun. To tell me na walang kwenta yung degree ko kasi hindi ka agree sa opinion ko. Well, PI ka. Mahirap yung pinagdadaanan natin. Lalo ikaw, you told me nung kanina na ikaw ay nag-law and you know how hard it is to take
to have a degree.
Naalala ko nag-exam ako sa UP, putik, may essay pa. So I failed. Di ba sa yung law doon may essay, di ba?
Yes.
Wala, hindi ganun.
Essay lahat yung bar exams is essay lahat ng time namin. So talagang dapat handwritten lahat. Walang walang multiple choice. So ang hirap nun tapos may time limit pa yon. So alam mo yun, nakaka-pressure yung mga ganun. So para maliitin mo yung degree kasi hindi mo nakikita yung perspective ng isang college grad. It's really tapos sasabihin mo sa akin the younger Marcos is as smart as his father. No. I don't think so. I honestly do not think so. Mm-hmm.
So that being said, would you think na yung mga policies ni FM ay magagawa or yung political will ni FM ay makukuha ni BBM? Of course not. You're voting him because merong mythology sa utak mo, yung sinasabi mo kanina na parang fantasy na babalik sa nakaraan. Walang ganon. Most likely the case, kung ano yung sabihin ng partido nila, yung ruling party nila, ganon yung papatakboy ng Pilipinas. Magkakaroon na naman ng mga kulungan dyan, huhulihin na naman si ganito, ipe-pressure na naman si ganito. It's the same old process na hindi naman talaga mababago. And eto yung for me, ito yung pinamana talaga sa atin ni FM, yung older Ferdinand Marcos. Yung old political system of kickback, yung old political system of cronies, yung old political system of magnanakaw ng yung mga political, yung hahanap ka ng isang department sa government, tapos doon ka magnanakaw. Yung ngayon, di ba, sa yung sa Department of Health ngayon, 'di ba? Yung 15 billion sa PhilHealth, 'di ba? Ngayon. Sa PhilHealth, So, nung panahon ni Gloria, yung ZTE, 'di ba? So, alam mo 'yun, recurring themes of pagnanakaw in all facets of government. Tol, correctin mo ako kung may mali ako.
Yung term nga namin diyan sa political sense, crony capitalism. So,
exactly.
Nagkaroon ng posisyon yung mga taong close sa kung sino man sa may posisyon, like the president, yung mga friends niya, yung nakakakuha ng mga big deals. And
exactly. Dennis Uy, 'di ba? Si Dito, 'di ba?
Hindi yan meritocracy, 'di ba? Hindi na yan naging meritocracy that it should have been based on merit or ability or achievement or bidding.
Exactly.
Pero hindi nangyayari yan. But pero
would you think the younger Marcos has this strong will to end cronyism? Of course not. Ngayon pa lang kitang-kita na eh. Look at sino yung running mate niya. Sino yung running mate niya? Yung nakaupong vice president kasi yung Sara Duterte. Why? Kasi lakas eh. Hindi naman yun dahil sa merits ni Sara Duterte. Diba?
The family name, the brand,
the family niya, the brand. Yun, kaya sila yung magtulong ngayon.
Correct.
So alam mo yun,
yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I and my brother, we had a good conversation about this. Kasi, kumbaga, it's something that we should expect. And yun nga, the numbers don't lie, man. Nakita natin, Nico, na there's a big possibility that this Marcos presidency will happen. So ano yung pwede na naman natin na kind of like, not wishful thinking, but something that we could positively assume. Yung yung best case scenario, in my opinion, would be trying to reclaim the name. Parang sabihin niyo na, matanda na ako, I'm Bongbong Marcos, and what I'll do as a president is to really prove my worth. Pero ito, parang nasa positive na to, being too optimistic na to.
Hindi, eto tola. I'm really sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
When Bongbong Marcos was asked, saan ang stand mo sa Russia-Ukraine? What you know what he said? Neutral lang ako. Kasi he doesn't want to step on the foot of China and Russia. Na mga fascist government.
Tumalon tayo sa Russia. Magandang topic yan.
Hindi kasi you would see yung political will niya. Si Lenny kasi pinapakita niya pro-US siya. Pro-US siya. Diba? Pro-US si Lenny.
Yung kind of like the rule of law, like arbitral ruling, dapat natin yan. Because you touch up on this, bro. So sige, let's handle this issue. We still have around a couple of minutes to go. I would like to know your perspective.
Ang tagal na natin mag-uusap.
Yeah. Di ba? Hindi mo na-realize, sarap ng usapan. Pero yeah, so as I was saying, bro, gusto kong malaman, sige, should Ukraine be neutral or dapat ba na mag-side pa rin sa US, as vis-a-vis what is happening today, or should they just give up and surrender and just let Russia rule them in some ways or get their territory? And then ang next question ko nito, bro, is what are the implications sa atin as Filipinos? How should we look at this as a learning lesson na it's actually unfolding right now? So tell me what your thoughts about this.
Una kailangan natin ng ROTC.
Okay. Parang Korea, yung mga two-year ng mga K-pop stars natin, parang gano'n.
Correct me if I'm wrong, bro. Ang China ngayon, nag-install sila ng military base sa Spratleys Island. Correct?
Marami na sa South China Sea.
So, marami na. Technically, they have annexed Spratleys Island just like what Russia did to Ukraine. Diba? Nag-annex sila na. Actually, mas invasive nga ang Russia. Pero ang China,
technically invasion yun eh. Kasi
pero
we have the thought kasi na when it's annexed, it's in some ways may semblance ng legality. Pero yun nga, that's also what they're using now.
It's
kasi
invasion,
after 8 years yung Crimea, for example, 'di ba? Pati ditong Donbas region, yung sa eastern part ng
tsaka Luhansk.
Etong parts na to, southeast tsaka eastern, yung Crimea talaga whole island sa baba. So na yun, kumbaga sila na talaga yung effective na may control dito. So na-annex na nila yun. So that's what China's been doing. Yeah, you're right, in the South China Sea.
Spratleys, So technically they are invading already Spratleys Island.
Of course.
And we can do nothing about it. That's why
So are you saying okay, so kasi ang nakikita ko sa sinasabi mo, bro, na merong parang parallelism dito sa nangyayari sa Ukraine in some ways tsaka sa atin. So ito, dahil nag-unfold pa tong Ukraine issue ngayon, anong dapat nilang gawin? Kasi first of all, madaming namamatay na ngayon na prayers for Ukraine, pero talagang madaming namamatay ngayon. Anong perspective mo dito? What could have been a better choice kung pwede nating ibalik ang dapat na desisyon ng Ukraine? Or ngayon, ano ang posible din nilang gawin?
Democracy always has a price, bro. And this is the price of democracy.
The price of freedom, no? Ang ganda ng speech
the price of freedom.
Ni Zelensky.
Zelensky is an actor. 'Di ba? Yun yung yung kaya ang galing niya mag-deliver ng mga speech eh. Do you know the history of Zelensky?
I know.
Yeah, 'di ba?
Actor, comedian, siya, millionaire siya.
No. Alam mo kung bakit siya nahalal, kung ano yung
alam ko rin.
Meron siyang isang role as naging president siya.
Servant legit, of the people yet, a servant to the people na show for 3 years, It's a series.
And ito yung art, yung life imitating art.
Of
legit,
course.
Diba?
Correct. Agree.
So ito yung legitimate price ng democracy na binabayaran ng mga tao ngayon.
But is it worth it though? I mean, Ako
exactly. Is it worth it?
Ako kasi, ikaw kasi, well, here's the thing. One of your main jobs as a president or a head of state, quote unquote, that's really the title, no, head of state ka, is to also ensure the safety of your citizens. So, do you think it's a worthless cause given na NATO and US already has given statements that they will not interfere?
Help.
They could give military aid, financial aid, which is yung ginagawa ng Amerika ngayon. Germany has been giving weapons. Pero yung actual na intervention, hindi sila pwedeng maglagay ng troops doon.
Exactly.
Diba? So, ang point
hindi sila
is,
pwedeng maglagay ng ng mga sundalo nila doon.
Ikaw sa paningin mo ngayon, day 7 na. Actually, ito nga yung purpose ng pag-set natin ng date ngayon kasi we will have a kind of like parang analysis no on what has happened kasi 1 week plus na, 1 week and 1 day na ngayon. So ako medyo masakit at mahirap yung posisyon ni Zelensky ngayon kasi nga hindi sila mananalo bro with the overpowering Soviet army. So
tapos nag-high alert pa yung Kaso ang kagandahan dito bro. I don't want to say na sacrificial lamb ang Ukraine. Pero at the very least, makikita natin yung pagbagsak ng Russia economy because of the transgressions na gagawin nila against humanity. Although it's kind of hypocritical kasi United States is also going to wars.
Has always been doing it too. Correct.
Exactly. Yeah. Ang iba lang sa United States, they always justify their actions by taking down dictators. Parang sila they are the heroes of their own.
But the question there is, Nico, bro, who polices the police? Who polices the global police?
Who watches the watches? Who watches the watchman? Actually, ang ganda nun kasi I was thinking of making a content about Watchmen. Nabasa mo na ba yung Watchmen?
Anong Watchmen yung tinutukoy mo? By whom?
Yung by Alan Moore.
Hindi pa, sorry.
Pelikula. Well,
yung basta yung Watchmen na movie? Yun ba yung tinutukoy mo?
Yeah, Watchmen na
okay.
movie.
Alright, yeah.
Napanood mo na?
Yeah, sure.
Nakita mo na at least.
Yes.
Meron dong isang character named Comedian. The Comedian yung title niya. Yung pangalan niya. So, it's so paralleling si Zelensky, which he also is a comedian, right? Di ba? Komedyante si Zelensky. And yung start ng Watchmen, the comedian dies. Kasi he knew the truth. Nalaman niya yung totoo about dun sa nangyayari, about dun sa totoong mga heroes, and he died. Bago pa malaman. So yun yung mystery ng buong Watchmen. So,
correct.
Ang idea ko rito, bro, Ukraine right now is being, parang siya yung nagiging, parang nagiging siya yung magiging testing ground ng democracy. Do you get that? Like malalaman natin kung gaano kalakas yung mga big players ng mundo. Kung gaano kalakas yung sanction na mangyayari. If Russia invaded Ukraine and walang nangyari sa kanila, probably North Korea will follow suit. Probably China will follow suit sa Taiwan. Sure. Pero if the economic sanctions are good enough to cripple Russia, siguro it would be a deterrent. Kaso nga lang in the expense of millions of lives. We're talking about millions of lives.
Ako naman medyo realistic ako dito First of all, the economic sanctions for me are not it's not enough. There are a lot of ways still of funneling money. Hindi lamang through SWIFT, but SWIFT is a very good, kumbaga quote unquote pag-cripple mo in some ways ng pag-flow. Pero kasi marami pa kasing paraan, cryptocurrency nga, hindi nga, 'di ba?
Exactly.
Nasa balita, cryptocurrency
did
not ban, did not block. They say they would continue. Sabi ng ang mga biggest na mga crypto players natin. And then the other hand, meron pa ng ibang ways, but what I'm saying is for me this is not enough pa. Hindi to sapat para knowing how determined Putin is. You have to also understand though the other side from Russia. This has not happened before. Russia has never, in some ways, until very recently lang with Syria and other countries. Pero in general, hindi nakikialam or nag-expand ang Russia as fast as what the West, quote unquote, and the Slavic countries have been doing. Ngayon lang ito, na ganito na yung reaction nila. Kasi nga, di ba, you're basically placing territories, troops of NATO, if they become members of NATO, technically at their footsteps. Nasa bakuran nila, napakalapit. And this is actually what also happened with Cuban Missile Crisis. 'Di ba? Noong 1960s, ang nangyari dahil kaalyado ng Cuba ang USSR nung panahon na 'yon. So secretly nilagyan ng nuclear capability ang Cuba. At nang nalaman niya ng mga Amerikano, nag-react yung mga Amerikano. So ang sinasabi ni Putin dito, ganito din ang reaction ninyo dati sa Amerika. 'Di ba? Kayo ayaw niyo rin na malagyan kayo ng threat na malapit sa inyo?
Exactly.
'Di ba? So
exactly. Parang ito nga yung justification niya na parang wala naman kayong nakikitang missiles na malapit sa mga country niyo eh. So bakit kailangan yung ano yun? So I think Putin end of the day just wants Ukraine to yield. Yun lang, yield and then we stop.
Tama. Pero ako naman
kaso nga lang talaga, eto may tatanong ako sa iyo. Kasi this is what I'm trying to figure out.
Sige.
Do you think na yung nakaupong regime ngayon sa Ukraine is pro-US? Pro-Western?
Okay.
Kaya nagkakaproblema.
First of all, they had the assumption. So I will answer this with what happened. Kasi yung ginawa nila as an administration is an identifier kung saan sila, ano yung kanilang political leaning, no?
Oo.
So for Ukraine, first of all, before this all happened, meron silang natapol na dictator. Dictator hindi. A Russian quote-unquote puppet. Okay?
Oo.
So nung 2013, so ganito dapat yun. Their country, kasi nag-promise yung politiko na ito, na we will become a member of EU. Okay?
Oo, kaso hindi.
Hindi niya tinuloy. At on the other hand, dahil binigyan siya ng counter-offer ng Russia, tinanggap niya yung, I think, $14 billion na deal na binigay ng Russia. Totoo yun! And nagalit yung mga tao. Noong November 2013, nag-escalate yun into yung kanilang protest nila sa kanilang park. So, nagkaroon yung Maidan na event, yung Maidan, M-A-I-D-A-N. But anyway, what happened here was they actually toppled that regime na ayaw nga nila kasi nga naging pro-Russia yun. So, here comes Zelensky. So, siya yung dalawang leaders sila
na
pumalit.
The hero of democracy.
Dalawa sila. Actually, before din, meron pang isa si Poroshenko. And then, ito nga si Zelensky. Pero same thing, no? Na yung kanilang perspective is ayaw na nila talagang maging pro-Russia. Kasi nga gusto na nila, katulad ng ginawa din ng ibang mga neighboring countries nila na maging part ng NATO or at least be accepted sa EU. And ayaw yun ng Russia. Kung makikita mo sa interviews kay Zelensky, so ito na yung yung meat ng sagot ko. Actually, nung mga intelligence na binibigay ng US weeks prior to the attack, parang Naiwalang-bahala niya ni Zelensky. Oo.
Bakit yung Naiwalang-bahala?
Kasi siguro, in some ways, dina-downplay niya, siguro pwede na ayaw niyang maalarma yung mga tao. Or on the other hand, I think, may confidence siya. And he really believes na NATO and the United States would support
will help
him.
out.
Yun yung wrong assumption niya. And I really honestly think it was a wrong
assumption.
Kawawa
naman, no?
Oo.
Kawawa naman.
Kaya nga, there are political scientists on the other end of the spectrum saying na what happened with Ukraine was a result of what the West was doing.
Yeah, napanood ko yan. Actually,
diba?
Meron ganyan sa
Ano ba? Si John
yung
Mearsheimer, something like that.
Nag-trend yun eh.
Mearsheimer
6 years ago, ito yung lecture na to, di ba? Yung
University of Chicago na interview. Yes. But the point there, my point naman din yun. Pero ako, personally, ako naman as an independent thinker naman, So meron naman kasi tayong own din. Hindi lang tayo accept ng nababasa natin. O na yung info na natin. We have to sift through that and then make our own
critical
analysis.
Thinking yan.
Ako naman, for thousands of years kasi bro, Ukraine has always been at the middle of all the things happening in Europe. I think, na kumbaga nagsawa na rin sila. Na for once, pwede namang mag-stand tayo on our own. Kasi sawang-sawa na sila na palaging it's either Russia, yung hinihila-hila sila. Kumbaga, if ever they would side with NATO, it's their own decision as a country.
Kaso ito kasi statistically speaking talaga, people wants democracy. 70% of the people voted for the current regime. So they want a democratic country na they choose their own leaders. Kaso, I'll give you an idea rito. sa Crimea kasi, Crimea was annexed by Russia kasi ang daming natural resources doon which is being used by the Western countries. Like may installation ng Petron doon, ang Shell doon. So sila yung nagdidig ng natural resources doon. So si Putin doesn't want that, right? So ginawa niya, in-annex niya yung Crimea.
Although
diba?
To be fair, kasi ethnically din kasi marami ding Russians dyan. So we have to also identify na yung borderline, yung border na lugar ng Eastern Ukraine at saka Southern Ukraine, may mga ethnic Russians dyan. So hindi actually naging mahirap yan kasi during the KGB time, during the USSR, yung before pa to nag-fall noong 1991, actually, meron ng military installation dyan. Dyan talaga nilagay, intentionally ng Russian Federation, nilagay nila sa Ukraine, sa Crimea in particular, with the hopes of uniting these two states actually. That was the intention.
So matagal na pala yan.
May mga Russians na talaga dyan, oo. So kahit na nag-fall na yung...
Di ba ang ginawa nila ngayon sa Crimea, parang kinut off nila yung tubig. So parang... super dry na ngayon ng Crimea na
pero
parang
it was not difficult. It was almost parang kaya nga madali nilang na-take over noong 2014. Napakadali lang nilang na-take over kasi nga marami ng mga ethnic Russians din dyan. So medyo
parang accepted na.
Oo. Hindi na actually nangyari, no? Kaya nga sinasabi nga nila, actually the pretext for the attack, of Putin is to protect the abuses done to the ethnic Russians in
cultural
Donbass,
niya, di ba?
In Donbass region, yun yung eastern part. Yun yung isa sa mga rason niya. Kasi daw, di ba, naging neo-Nazi na daw si Zelensky, na nagiging genocide na ito ng mga kapwa niya Russians. Yun ang isa sa mga main reasons ni Putin.
Pero ngayon kasi, like for example, ang media ngayon is blocking the yung Russian media. Yung kunyari YouTube, they cut off so many pro-Russian.
Monetization siya.
Oo nga eh. Hindi lang, block talaga. As in, you cannot upload anymore pag nasa Russia ka.
Okay.
So, news is being delivered one-sided. Diba? Gets mo? So, pero if you understand yung point ni Putin, meron naman siyang, gets naman eh. Kasi parang ayaw niya lang talaga na maging westernized yung Ukraine. Diba? Parang, kasi
sure, pero ito kasi, ako yung concern ko ganito. Bakit mo papakialaman ang isang bansa na nag-decide na maging isang bansa sila? 'Di ba?
Kasi
yung punto nga
ng pag-Ukraine hindi naman
hindi
kasi look man, I get your point. Pero the thing is, Ukraine wants in sa NATO and sa UE, sa EU.
Correct.
So, I think that's what yung driving force ni Vladimir Putin.
Sure. Yeah.
Gusto niyo maging sovereign country kasi gusto niyo sumali sa NATO. What the fuck, man? Parang parang hindi ba double-sided yun? If you want to be a sovereign country, then be neutral. Yun yata yung parang main idea rito eh. Kaso nga lang talaga, yung hindi ko alam yung end game nito eh. Ito yung nakakatakot eh kasi it's escalating.
But do you know na ang gusto ni Putin, and he announced this actually, alam mo ba na ang gusto niyang mangyari sa Eastern Europe, yung mga former USSR states, is babalik pre-1997? Alam mo ba yon?
Bakit? Why?
Gusto niya. Kasi nga, dahil nga sa threat nga na too much expansion ng NATO, and for him, yung ginawa ng NATO, nagbigay doon ng promise yung NATO na hindi sila mag-extend sa mga USSR countries. So kumbaga, ang nangyayari dito, kung titingnan mo yung perspective ng Russians, is napuno na siya dahil unti-unti nang nawawala yung dapat niyang kino-consider na mga buffer states niya. So yung mga Eastern countries kasi, Eastern European buffer yun. Kasi 'di ba Western dito, malalakas yung Germany, France, Spain, Great Britain, lahat yan. Germany. So yun. So yun yung actually yung driving force niya, which is crazy kasi kung titingnan mo pala yung main point niya na gusto niya na gawin ulit na umalis itong mga Slavic countries, itong mga Latvia, yung Romania, yung mga bansa na yan, that would be dangerous in some ways. Kasi nga, hindi lang magsa-stop ito sa Ukraine. So yun yung mga issues na nagko-complicate nito. Will it stop sa Ukraine?
Ang rinig ko sa balita, Maldives daw yung sunod. Tama ba? Maldives?
I think Malta. Yung Maldives iba yun.
Malta pala, Malta.
Malta yata, Malta.
Malta. So, I think parang hindi ba parang this could be a signifier again of another war?
Okay.
Di ba?
Dapat nating ma-search ng tama kasi hindi Malta, Moldova. Ayan, mahirap
Moldova, putang ina. O nga baka ma-fake news na naman tayo eh. Pag
yung mga viewers natin, ako itong dalawang to nagchichikahan lang, mali-mali pa yung
mga
ano. But
pero that's the dangerous part, bro eh. Kasi nuclear threat is very real. 'Di ba? Although may MAD at saka may SALT na treaty, it doesn't really matter if nagalit si Putin eh.
Like, konting natin dyan na MAD sa mga viewers natin, mutually assured destruction. So yun yung theory natin na kapag dalawa kayo, you are both nuclear powers, hindi niyo nagagawin yan kasi alam niyo yung magiging retaliation
consequence
din. Pareho kayong masisira. Okay, continue bro.
So eto lang yung ko kasi someone has to give in dito sa Ukrainian war.
I agree. Correct.
Someone has to
hindi pwedeng sabay silang hindi mangyayari yun.
Hindi pwede talaga eh.
May clash talaga.
And sinabi na rin ng kasi eto makikinig ka ng US na mga yung kunyari pinapalakpakan nila si Ukrainian President Zelensky sa parang parang SONA ni Biden, 'di ba? Nung isang araw. Pero nare-realize ko, dude, you're just parang iniipit mo lang sa pera yung tapos I remember this part of his speech, sabi niya ganun, we will not parang in-emphasize niya pa, use American forces to interfere sa Ukrainian war. Tapos pinalakpakan siya, which is ironic. Hindi ba dapat parang kayo yung savior of democracy? You have been toppling down fascist regime. So bakit ngayon na may mas ka-match kayo, parang ayaw nyo na? What the fuck, dude?
I think in some ways, ayaw lang din i-escalate ng US. Yun yung nakikita ko dyan.
Pero Russia is hell-bent now to take Ukraine. All means necessary.
Ibig sabihin yan, all things considered na walang magbabago sa, kumbaga, quote-unquote reinforcement sa Ukraine, we have to expect that Ukraine will fall. Ganun na talaga.
Yeah.
Ganun talaga.
And kasi 'di ba parang kasing ang sinasabi ng Western media ngayon, in 4 days dapat tapos na 'yan. Who is funding the Russian war? Who is funding Russian war? So I'm thinking na, don't you think na calculated lahat 'to ni Vladimir Putin?
Oh, syempre, naman. Pero it is calculated kasi he already had this experience with Georgia. So Georgia in 2008, ganun din ang ginawa niya. So ang Georgia is another Eastern European country just below Russia. Tapos sa baba ng Georgia is Armenia. So itong mga territory na inatake niya rin kasi yan noong 2008 with the same parang reason kasi itong Georgia gusto din nilang maging
parte
ng So inuna nila actually ang Georgia.
Pero this is like worst, 'di ba? Worst na to.
Kaya naging worst itong Ukraine
kasi
the size of Ukraine, Ukraine is the second largest
40
country.
40 million people.
Yung the whole kumbaga vastness of the territory and the other implications, the geopolitical reason because it would just come in knocking to other countries na naging part ng NATO. So kumbaga, yung nga sinasabi ko din, hindi ko din ma-blame yung Ukraine in some ways kasi through history bro, thousands of history, ang Ukraine has always been in the middle of things. In fact, actually meron silang image na collaborator sila noon. Nung panahon ng World War, yung mga Ukrainians are known to be parang balimbing. Ganun yung nila. Ganun yung image nila dati. Pero parang kaya nga sinasabi ko nga ngayon, I think once and for all, when they decided to be free, it's a statement na nung 2014 na sobrang dami ng libong nagprotest at maraming namatay, bro. Hundreds of people died. Kasi yung mga police parang nagbindyola massacre yun.
Putik.
You can search about it, yung Maidan protests na very popular and yun yung nag-topple
So
down.
Kaya pala ngayon, people are taking arms against the Russian
because
people.
They are saying that this war has been going on since 2014. They don't treat this as ngayon lang.
So what is the end goal here, bro? Like ako kasi something really has to give. Hindi pwedeng
Ganito ako paningin ko.
Kasi ngayon Teka lang, anuhin ko lang sa'yo. Kasi parang may nakita ako.
Kakasarapan yung usapan and our limit should have been
the Ukrainians are winning for some reason. How are they winning? How? Exactly.
First of all, it's a combination yan para sa akin. First of all, national pride. This generation will be an inspiration for you, so for songs that will be sang in the future.
But young people die.
Sure.
Well, what's the point in that? I mean, I wouldn't. Sorry, bro. If China invaded this country, I would have second thoughts in fighting the
yeah,
war.
sure.
I would have second thoughts.
Yeah. No. I totally get what you're saying, and also that actually it's yun yung perspective ni Mearsheimer if I'm not mistaken. Sinasabi niya kasi ganito. So mention natin to para maging educational sa ating mga viewers, no. Sinabi niya, the best thing for a country to do in this situation as in Ukraine is to be neutral. At sinabi ni Mearsheimer na ang dapat mong gawin kung isa kang bansa na hindi ka ganun kalakas at napapaligiran ka ng mga malalakas na puwersa, maging neutral ka at kumbaga magkuha ka ng deals na magpapaunlad ng ekonomiya mo muna. Then if you want to fight, then you fight. That's his point. Magpalakas ka muna.
Kailangan long game. Kasi itong si Zelensky kasi, parang na-indoctrinate siya ng West doctrine na tutulungan tayo ng West. I remember one soldier, may interview ng isang sundalo doon. Sabi niya, Biden will help us. Biden will help us.
Talaga?
Ginaganon siya. It's so sad kasi sinabi ni Biden na yung US lives won't yung military natin won't not interfere.
Napakahabang discussion ito, bro, kasi this has implications to the Asian, kumbaga spheres of influence. You have to identify now na nag-shift
you
na
would
kasi.
understand that they would not help us when China decides to take.
Exactly. Actually, we can ask gaano ba kawiling ang Amerika na magsisend at mag-offer ng life ng kanilang sundalo kapag inatake tayo ng China? Kung talagang magiging kung magiging hardball kaya nga, kung magiging hardball tayo na pro-US, kasi nga, isang problema nung 1951 na Mutual Defense Treaty, in fact, last year, there were proposals by the defense chief natin sa Pilipinas na it's time to revisit and revise the Mutual Defense Treaty kasi wala tayong special law dito. Yung proseso natin, this has not been tested kasi, bro. 1951 pa tayo itong mutual defense, yung idea natin na ally natin ng US, it's 1951, Mutual Defense Treaty, MTD. Yung provision nito, bro, is kapag inatake tayo, aatakihin ng Amerika para sa atin. They would retaliate for us and protect us. Kapag ang Amerika inatake, on paper, dapat tayo rin magsasend din ng troops to fight against the enemy of America. Yan yung 1951 na Mutual Defense Treaty. So, this is under test kasi this has not been done. Meron tayong ibang mga, kunwari EDCA, isang din yan, treaty din yan, no? Agreement actually, na nagsistrengthen ng ating position sa South China Sea. Pero, kini-question na yan kasi kung talagang sincere yung United States in defending a US ally like the Philippines, bakit walang nangyari nung nag-start na mag-invade ang mga Chinese sa South China Sea?
Exactly
Pero
the point na.
But this is with the assumption na yung invasion nila is a military action. Kasi pag hindi mo kasi sinabi na military action yun or military confrontation, yung concept ng treaty na ito, hindi papasok yun. Kumbaga, ang precondition, it has to be a military action. Pero klaro naman na sa actions nila, this is a military action. Kaya napansin mo, sa mga news dati, bro, yun, Chinese ship lang doon yun na nag-ram, di ba? Hindi doon yun military. Kasi nga, iniiwasan din ng China na malabel yun na military aggression.
Oo. So, para hindi sila pakialamanan.
Oo. Kumbaga nag-iingat din naman talaga ang China. Diba, to be fair with China, hindi niya pa pinaprad yung bear, hindi niya pa pinaprad yung dragon.
Kaso this would actually show the hand of the United States, di ba? Kasi
sure.
It shows you na they are not really the champion of democracy. They say they are, pero yung kaya lang nilang manalo against, di ba?
But here's my question, and this is a controversial question, I should say. I'm not taking a stand here. This is just a question for the viewers. Ito medyo academic na to, intellectual. Would the world be better off without the United States? That's the question.
Oy, ang hirap na. Mahirap na tanong yan, bro.
That's the question, man. Kasi yun nga, kung wala tayong isang superpower na katulad ng Amerika na may mga bases everywhere, so ano kaya ang magiging epekto niyan? And second question is, ito yung debate kasi namin to sa aming politics class nung estudyante pa ako. Anong maganda? Meron bang after ng ng Cold War, so dapat bipolar sphere of power yan sa politics. Dalawang mga malaking bansa, ano? So nawala yung ng 1991 huminang USSR, natira Amerika na lang. Pero slowly nagbe-build yung China and then Russia and all these others.
Exactly.
Mas okay ba yon na mayroong isang malakas na Amerika na superpower na posible siyang gumawa ng mga human rights abuses and sovereignty issues by invading other countries, or mas mabuti ba na magkaroon ng almost equal na powers ng ibang spheres of influence para sa mundo? So saan yung mas nakakabuti? Isang dominant na force o isang multipolar na sphere ng power? So yun yung isang discussion namin yun sa political side na hindi matapos-tapos.
Bakit hindi matapos-tapos yan? I mean, hindi ba mas maganda kung sa bagay, kasi kung isa lang yung power, parang siya lang yung magde-decide kung sino yung tama at mali. It's better to always challenge the power, right?
Ito lang yung isang analogy dyan, bro, is ganito. Parang kumbaga, ang isang matalinong bansa hindi na kailangan ng striktong batas. Pero nagkakaroon ng mga nagkakaroon ng isang striktong batas dahil marami sa atin ang kinakailangang makontrol.
Gets.
Pero sa estado ba ng mundo, yung mga individual countries na to, kaya ba nilang mag-decide on themselves without someone na parang big brother na kumbaga nakatingin sa kanila?
Magpupulis para sa kanila.
Tama, yun yung issue dyan.
Oo nga naman. No?
Diba?
Ano pala, no? It's so super complicated itong mga bagay na to.
Political science, man, is very interesting. So, it's something na I'm happy that we're talking about this.
Let me ask you one thing.
Sige.
Kasi ito yung...
And then, wrap up tayo, bro.
Kasi nga. Last question. Hindi, ikaw naman ang tatanungin ko kasi I was talking so much tungkol dun sa fucking martial law na yan. Bro, tanong ko sa'yo, I made a post. Tinanong ko yung mga audience ko kung tama ba na yung galaw ni Duterte na maging friends or allies with China and Russia. So, would you think na tama ba siya doon? Yung sa ginawa niya na kasi yung sentiment yung retorika ni President Duterte is he likes China, he likes Russia, di ba? I'm friends with the Russian government.
That's all talk, man. Hindi naman yan yung mga sinasabi niya, bro. That's not equal to law. Nagets mo ba? It's not on document. These are just pronouncements of a head of state. These are not binding. So kumbaga pinopolitika niya lang yan.
Wala lang yun.
Wala. Pinopolitika niya lang yun. Kaya anong sinabi niya, it's a strategy, bro. It's a strategy. Kaya nga nag-viral yung isang interview niya with Maria Ressa dati, long time ago, 2016. And people were saying he predicted it, which is, he was right. Actually, sa ano niya, sabi niya, in this situation, sabi niya, very, very volatile na, sabi niya, to paraphrase him, sabi ni Digong, na we have to be careful. China is getting stronger. Russia with Putin is kind of, sabi niya, ang quote niya nga doon is suicidal. Kumbaga, nothing to lose dito si Putin. Yun ang sinasabi niya.
Totoo ba yun? Parang...
Well, in some ways, kasi nasa desperation ng Russia eh. Naiipit na nga sila ngayon, di ba? So, he was able to say that. Duterte said that. Ano pa? 2016 pa, sinabi niya na yan. So, parang, yun, makita mo yung inkling niya na ang tendency niya would parang make the other heads of state feel na, uy, hindi kami ganun ka-hardcore na US ally.
Oo, pero in paper, we are US allies, di ba?
Oo naman. Kaya nga, di ba, yung sabi ko nga sa'yo, 1951, hindi pa na-change yan eh. So, enforce yan, binding yan. Yung term namin yan sa batas is binding, legal and binding up to now. Since 1951.
Kaya nga natatawa ako doon sa neutrality na sinabi ni Bongbong. That's why parang it's so ironic eh. Kasi alam ko na may ganyan tayo. Of course, hindi ko alam yung details na. Pero I get the idea ngayon, bro, na ano pala talaga, no? We are hardcore US. So,
kasi nga we have shared history and it's all part of our shared experience during World War II. Pero, maganda naman in some ways. Ito sinasabi kong maganda kasi alam natin na wala tayong laban. At ayaw din natin, I think ang nasa isip niya ng head of state natin ni Duterte is, ayaw niyang maging pawn tayo, no? Maging pisa lang tayo sa isang malaking chessboard na match na gagamitin lang tayo.
Pero,
kasi
we are, right?
The thing about that is, posible kasi tayong maging battleground kasi. Yun naman yung reality. Don't you think right now, Taiwan, South Korea, and Japan are not scared? They are scared, bro. Sabi ko nga sa'yo, di ba, I had a conversation with a political scientist from Sophia University.
Yeah, oo nga.
They are scared because the implications of this war, this will be a template for China what to do next. They are they are looking at how US will respond and NATO will respond. So nakita nila Georgia.
Nakita nila nawala, di ba?
Yeah.
So right now, dati kasi akong poker player, bro. So right now,
ganda yung psychology niyan.
We know that NATO and that United States does not have a strong hand. Yung NATO ngayon is merely a bluff. Kasi yung sanctions nila, if Putin can survive this financially, all good, right? He can siguro
patuloy.
Kasi tinitingnan ko kasi ngayon na if you put economic sanctions sa Russia, you would also suffer the same fate. Like, for example, hindi ka bumili ng gasolina sa kanila, kanino ka bibili?
Correct.
Di ba ang angas ngayon ng CNN, sabi nila, we will tap our natural resources from the likes of Alaska.
Mahirap yan.
Dude, come on, man.
Mahirap
yan. You're going to find a new source of energy just because galit ka sa Russia?
Kaya nga, yung sanctions na sinasabi nga na sa political science, it's a double-edged sword. So you also suffer when you do it. Yeah.
Exactly. Like yung parang iniisip ko kasi sila yung concessionaire of natural gas.
Yeah, they are.
Because
of course.
They are so ang pinaka bumibili sa kanila ay UK, di ba?
Correct. European countries in general. Yeah, Europe gets 30%, yes.
So, saan mo kukunin yung 30% na yun kung nawala ang Russia? You cannot find natural gas. Kaya nga siya natural gas. It's almost impossible. You're going to drill unless willing kang sakupin ng Russia, which is right now. If you threaten Russia, they will they have 6,000 warheads.
Yeah. Okay.
Diba? So they can.
They can, sorry. Tawid mo lang.
So they can end you kung gusto nila.
Kung
gusto nila. I mean, it's not nuclear apocalypse is not far-fetched to say when we're talking about Russia.
Kung si Mearsheimer tatanungin mo in 10 years.
Talaga?
10 to 15 years yung
kanyang
nakikita. Possibility. Yeah.
Wow.
Of World War III.
Of World War III, hindi naman nuclear apocalypse, nuclear holocaust.
Kasali na yan eh. Kasi 'di ba when a country feels na yung back niya is against the wall, hindi na susunod ng batas yan.
Sa bagay,
diba?
Come what may na yun, di ba?
But talking about bro, let's end this by maybe leaving a message, bro, kasi ang ganda ng mga natin. Thank you sa effort mo ngayon, bro, Nico. I appreciate it. Marami kasi sa mga viewers, di nila alam, marami tayong behind the scenes na exchange matagal na, na mga pangyayari sa buhay-buhay. So, Nico has been a very kind friend to me. And hindi lang yung content creator si Nico. He's a guy with a heart. Personally, bro, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, let's leave some good messages to our viewers. We talked about martial law. We talked about Philippine politics, dangers, demise, possibility of a Marcos dictatorship. Marcos presidency, I mean. We talked about the dictatorship
before.
Sa
dictatorship?
No, I was talking about dictatorship before. Itawid ko yan. So dictatorship before, and then yung ngayon sa UK, sa Russia and Ukraine issue, madami tayong na So anong final parting message mo, bro?
Vote wisely.
Vote wisely.
Vote wisely and always broker for peace. If there is a means for peace, yun. And wag niyo masyadong seryosohin yung mga political talks. End of the day, ang meron ka lang option is to choose the right people in power. Pero other than that, wala na talaga. You just don't hate people for having different opinions.
Right.
Kasi yun yung sumisira sa atin ngayon different opinions, pag unfriend dito, unfriend doon. Alam mo, in the bigger scale of things, we should all broker for peace.
Napakasarap ng demokrasya, Napakasarap ng demokrasya. So bro, any promotions, bro? Siyempre sa channel mo, baka pwedeng makapag-plug ka na rin, bro. Hindi ganun kadaming viewers ko as much as you, pero may bagong demographics, so hopefully marami ding...
Hindi. ano naman, wala naman akong ipopromote. Just watch yung mga ganitong political talks to give you different perspective.
Correct.
I do all types of content, basically anime, politics,
AJ Raval,
science, comedy, AJ Raval, bold review, di ba? All of this.
Right. So sa muli, yes bro. Sa muli, in closing, we are just so happy to have this opportunity. Democracy is beautiful. Maraming salamat mga kamatis, mga kaibigan. Ayan, maraming salamat din sa pagbisita sa amin.
Peace.
Sa mga ka-U3, maraming salamat. Peace. Bye-bye.
Yeah,
okay.
Bye. Thank you po.